All right, so Greg Cody here prefaced this segment with a lot of laughs. Yes, there are not a lot of laughs here, but we've talked to Maxwell Frost before, and to the degree that we could take some of the politics out of this, I don't know that we can. The Congressman is joining us, Florida's 10th District, and he's had a chance to take a look at least at the parts of Alligator Alcatraz, and so I don't know what is factual, what is inhumane. I know how all of this looks. I know how it's all purposely meant to look. What can you give us in the way of facts about what is happening in swampland when it looks optically from over here that this is just cruel stuff and human beings being used as propaganda pieces?
That's exactly right, man. I mean, it's just cruel and, cruelty isn't just the point, it's the strategy in this. But I'm going to just give you some straight up facts about my visit and people can make their own determination, right? I walk in and I'm greeted by nothing but private security, right? Now, this is a facility that they're saying is going to cost about $450 million. It's probably going to be a lot more. It's being run by the Florida Division of Emergency Management. These are the people that, help us with when we have hurricanes, help us prepare, help us respond. They're using pretty much all the money, which is they can use up to $500 million without going to the legislature if there's a state of emergency. That whole thing is meant to be there if there's a hurricane so they can work quickly. That's all being used up now for this political stunt. And that's something everyone should recognize if you're a Floridian, especially. So I walk in, we go in, we're checking out the conditions. I'll tell you the worst part for me was when they opened that door to the tent that had all the cages in it. And people should know that these men are being held in cages. The cages hold 32 people per cage. And then there's 3 toilets in each cage, and it's one of those, jail units where the spigot is connected to the toilet. Essentially, it's like a hybrid with washing your hands and drinking water from it. And it's hot in there. I mean, these guys were sweating when they opened that door. These guys were yelling at me, "Hey, call my family. Here's my phone number." Some guy yelled, "I'm an American citizen." We're looking into that, right? I mean, when you do this stuff in the brazen way they're doing it, sometimes citizens get swept up into the whole mess. So we're looking into that as well. But the conditions are not good. They're abhorrent for a place that humans are being held in. And the thing people also have to realize is when you're an immigrant being held in detention, it doesn't mean you've been convicted of a crime, right? They're holding you in detention as you go through a legal process. And so it's not supposed to be a jail or a prison. It's supposed to just be a detention center. So these are very bad conditions. It's very hot out there. These are a bunch of tents in the middle of the Everglades. And the last thing I'll say on this too is they were going to build full airport on this location years ago. Then they abandoned the idea. Why? Because the conditions are so poor out there in terms of weather that they couldn't build an airport there. And now they want to house up to 4,000 people there. So I think it's completely ridiculous.
What is your response to the DHS written statement on X Tuesday? Quote, ICE has higher detention standards than most U.S. prisons that hold actual U.S. citizens. All detainees are provided with proper meals, medical treatment, and have opportunities to communicate with lawyers and their family members.
The last part is not true. And I know this because I have many constituents in there and I speak with the lawyers. My team checks in with the lawyers on a daily basis. In fact, we've been given 3 to 4 emails for the lawyers to hit up so they can schedule in-person visits with their client. And so that's just not true. You can talk to any lawyer in Florida doing this work, and they're very frustrated. They haven't been able to really connect with the person that they're representing. The other thing I'll tell you is, look, I mean, before Congress, I was a community activist. I've been arrested. I went to jail. And I'll tell you, the jail I went to, 2 people, 1 cell, 1 bathroom in the cell. Okay. These are 32 men with only 3 toilets in a cage in the hot Florida sun. Right. And what I'll tell you is this. They keep saying, well, no, it's a good operation. I'm not debating the operation. It's run by the Florida Division of Emergency Management. We have one of the best emergency management divisions in the nation. The operation is great. But at the end of the day, a cage is a cage, right? The conditions are the condition. And so I'm not here to debate whether it's not being run well. I don't want an internment camp, even if it's run well, right? And so that's my opinion on it. And I think everyone, no matter what your politics are, you should be frustrated that they're using the department that helps us during hurricane season. And we're supposed to, and I'm knocking on wood, but we're supposed to have a tough hurricane season like we've had the last five. And so, in these times when you have these storms, every minute matters. And the fact that they're going to have to go back to the legislature and ask for more money if there's a hurricane just shows the priorities are out of whack. And it's a stunt, but it's a stunt with real human consequence. I mean, I got to tell you from a human perspective, looking at those cages, I mean, I saw myself in there, right? Like I saw people who looked exactly like me. I'm Afro-Cuban. I'm the first Afro-Cuban in Congress. Like I was looking at myself in those cages. And as I walked out of the facility, I told myself, I'm going to be one of the only people that looks like me that can walk in this place and walk out on my own accord. And I just gotta tell you, as a human, like my heart sunk. And not everyone in here isn't a violent criminal. We saw what the Miami Herald posted all the data. You got 250 people in there who've never done a crime, who've never been charged with a crime, and then you got a bunch of people in there. The crime is like, they got pulled over for a speeding ticket or something. Come on.
How long was your tour? Were you denied access to any requested areas?
The tour was about 2 hours. Yes, I was denied access to a couple areas. And so people know it is in the law, it's in federal law, right? That members of Congress have to be let into detention facilities and we have to be able to conduct our oversight. And it's part of our job is to go in and make sure things are being run correctly, that conditions are good, all of this. So we had a 2 hour tour, but there were two things I couldn't see that are really important when you do these tours. One was the medical unit. That's one of the most important things. We need to be able to go in there, speak directly with doctors, understand. I had a lot of questions about mental health. If someone has a mental health crisis, what happens? Do they have a segregation unit or are they put with everybody else? Nobody could answer these questions for me, and they wouldn't even let me in the medical unit. They said HIPAA. They said we can't let you in because of HIPAA. That's bull. I've been in many facilities before where they've let me in the medical unit. Now, I can't sit down in an appointment and listen in, but I can walk through the unit and ensure that things are up to par. So they didn't let me into the medical unit. They also didn't let me, I could see the cages from the door, but they didn't let me walk in. And the reason I wanted to walk in is because one of the top complaints we're getting are the toilets. We have a bunch of guys who have called their lawyers and called their family late at night on the phone and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that two of the three toilets aren't working right now, and one of them is backing up. And there's like, stuff is being sprayed or, coming out of the toilet essentially. And reportedly, it was hours till it was cleaned up. So I wanted to see the toilets as they were, but they said, "Oh, we can't let you in there. They'll throw poop at you," is what they said. Just all these excuses for not letting us go in and check things out. One point I want to bring up that I didn't see a lot of law enforcement in this facility. What I mean to say is I saw almost nothing but private security, which means part of the reason the price tag is so high is we're essentially paying for a ton of rent-a-cops to run the facility. This is supposed to be a federal detention facility. And so people should be concerned about that. People are making big money from this thing as well. When I came in on the airstrip, two private jets for the companies, for the contractors that are there. They had two private jets on there, probably hire, the CEO or a higher executive being there. So it's just like everything else, another instance of like our tax money being siphoned off to big corporations to make this stunt possible.
The president toured the facility, and I guess with everything going on in the nation, there are a lot of misconceptions that this is a federal facility. However, just hours after, the administration kind of distanced itself from Alligator Alcatraz after the photo ops and put it all on the state. So here, on the state level, what can Floridians do about this to voice their anger? We've seen plenty of protests. Is there any additional pressure that we could apply to local and state leaders?
Yeah, the whole hot potato with the state federal thing is insane. And the reason they're doing it, number one, there's a lawsuit happening right now. A bunch of the environmentalist groups are suing the state. And you know what the state said? They said the federal government has no involvement in this. Why? Because it hurts the lawsuit, and that lawsuit could shut this thing down. I went in there, and you know what Kevin Guthrie told me, who's running the whole damn thing? He said ICE is calling all the shots. So he's telling me directly that the federal government's calling the shots. I'm gonna hit the floor this week to put this on the record. I'm also gonna release an op-ed talking about this as well and do as much as I can to get out these specific quotes, and hopefully it'll help not just the lawsuit, but everything going on. But I would say, of course, the protests are always important, but honestly, people, especially if you're in Florida, get involved in one of these local immigrant justice groups. If you have some cash that you can donate to a pro bono legal organization that's doing immigrant law, they need resources. There's not enough resources to go around. And a lot of these immigrants, look, I don't, whatever your belief is in politics, you have to believe in due process for everybody. And we live in a country where the amount of money you have is directly correlated to whether or not you're going to get off or not because you're able to afford an expensive attorney. These people can't afford attorneys, expensive, even expensive ones, right? And so if you can donate some money to some of the legal funds, and these are just lawyers working a pro bono way to represent a lot of these immigrants who, again, most of whom have not committed a crime, and most of whom who have been in this country for over a decade. Like these are our neighbors, right? These are people living in our communities. We don't want to see them treated this way and snatched up by mass people. I mean, it's wild to me that this is even a debate. We live in the United States of America. Like we don't want the state running around scooping people up in unmarked vans. I mean, I don't care what your political persuasion is. You got to be against that. Because even if you don't care about these folks, which you should, but even if you don't, I promise you, it's them today, it's you tomorrow. I mean, and I'm not being hyperbolic. We've seen U.S. citizens caught up in this whole mess.
You underscored the need for access for immigration attorneys. I know Laura Kelly from the Miami-Dade Democratic Party is an immigration attorney herself, volunteering a lot of time fighting this fight with the TPS expiration or executive order. Presently, what is access to immigration attorneys for people that are detained? Can they make phone calls? What is that process like for someone that's detained?
Yeah.
For someone who is screaming at you, "Hey, I'm a U.S. citizen."
Yeah. So the way it's supposed to work is these immigrant detention facilities are supposed to have what's called a law library. It sounds fancy. What it really is it's a phone in a place that's not being surveilled in terms of audio, so you can speak with your lawyer privately through the phone, right? And this facility, in the Everglades, did have a law library, but what we've heard is the detainees are not being allowed to use it. And so a lot of the lawyers are telling me, well, I'll randomly get a call from the person I'm representing, but it's at like 3 a.m. when they turn on the general phones for like, your phone call to call your family. And the way this works is those phones are supposed to be used to talk with your family. The law library phones are supposed to be used to talk with your lawyer, right? And so, but what we're finding is they're having to use those other phones to talk with their lawyers. The lawyers are having trouble getting in contact with the facility to set up in-person visits. But there is a process here because, again, deportation is a legal process. When someone is being detained, they're really supposed to only be detained if they're considered a risk to society, they've committed a violent crime. But they're detaining people who have done no crimes, who their crime is like a traffic stop, or maybe they had the wrong license plate and stuff like that. And that's part of why the cost tag is going up so much. But this whole thing is supposed to be a legal process. And that's why, and again, I'm not trying to be super hyperbolic. I'm just calling it like I see it. What we're seeing now isn't even deportation, because deportation can take a week to a year to battle out, right? It's a process. This is really, they're kidnapping people and then they're trafficking them to other nations. They don't even have to be from that nation. And so I'm just really concerned. I mean, I'm a Floridian. My mom came here as a refugee from Cuba. She'd be one of the people being scooped up had she come more recently, or if she wasn't a U.S. citizen. So it's very concerning.
He's representing the people of his hometown in Orlando in Central Florida, and he's joining us 2 days after filing a lawsuit against DeSantis for being unlawfully denied entry to inspect conditions of the migrant detention facility that is now being known as Alligator Alcatraz. Last notes, and you said your mother is Cuban-American. The most appalling of the things that you're feeling are not what this country has ever supposedly been about are blank.
Say it again for me.
The most appalling, un-American sort of, how are we even talking about this? How are we even discussing an
Yeah.
argument about internment camps and treating human beings this way randomly? Like, how is this a conversation in
that part.
2025?
Could be that part.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's that part. I don't like, and I think about this is so politicized, it's so partisan, in the national sense. But I'm telling you, like on the ground, I go and speak with people, and I speak with people who are, they say they're conservative, they're progressive, all around. People are starting to wake up to the fact that this isn't right, and that's why Trump's numbers on immigration have tanked. Right? I mean, this was a big issue for him in the election. And so it just, people don't like this cruelty at this level. And I just, again, yeah, I mean, my mom, she talks about like, this is the stuff I saw in Cuba. Sorry, that's my voting alarm going off. We can't turn it off or down.
People love to vote.
Yeah, people love to vote. But this is the stuff that she fled, right? And now it's here. And I hear this from so many people. My friend Manuel Oliver, his family lived in Venezuela. They left Venezuela to keep their son safe. They came to Florida. They went online and looked up the safest community they could live in to keep their son safe. And it said Parkland, Florida. They moved to Parkland, Florida, and he was murdered at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. His name is Joaquin Oliver. I hear these stories so much of people who have come to this country for the opportunity and greatness we have, and we are a great country, but there are things we have to fix. And if you love something, when there's a problem, you call it out and you do everything you can to fix it. Being patriotic is more than just like bald eagle flag and beer, right? It's about loving the people who live in this place, and they're treating our people in just inhumane ways at these internment camps. I can't even believe it's a debate, but I do think I think the pendulum is swinging. I think people are waking up to it.
From the very name Alligator Alcatraz to the terrible optics of crowded chain link fence jail cells, this is aggressively inhumane. Do you believe why is it intentionally inhumane? Why are they doing it in this way?
Yeah, the reason why is it's not just the point, right? It's the strategy. And this isn't even just for this facility, but it's for a lot of these ICE detention facilities. I visited one called Baker, and the conditions were horrible. At the time, I wrote to President Biden and I told him, you need to close this place down. The conditions are horrible. But what they do is the conditions are so bad that these immigrants who are fighting a legal process that can take like a year, they get to the point where they go, I can't be here another month. I'm going to sign the deportation paper. I'm done fighting it. Send me wherever. And it's to demoralize them. I spoke with two Haitian men a year and a half ago in Baker, and they told me, Congressman, I've been fighting this for 8 months, 9 months. Tomorrow I'm signing the paper because I rather fight for my life and live on the streets of Haiti than be in this facility another month. And that's a big part of it. It's just such horrible conditions. I mean, you're literally in prison, and depending where you're at, if not worse. And at the same time, you're in this grueling legal battle, and the whole purpose is for you to go, screw it, send me wherever. And it's just it's horrible and it's sad. And also one thing, the lawsuit is the state legislators that went a couple weeks ago. They were denied entry. And my good friend Rep. Anna Escamani and Carlos Guillermo Smith, Chevron Jones, there's Michelle Rayner. Those are the ones involved in that. I'm not on that lawsuit because I wasn't there. But my visit was this past week, and we were able to get in. But I am gonna do an unannounced visit soon because what I saw was bad, man. But they had 3 days notice, right? Like, and when they have notice, they will make things cleaner. I mean, I heard from a family that spoke with someone that's there that magically the day before we got there, he got his first shower. Oh, and the day before we got there, he got like one of the first good meals. And so I'm going to be coming back unannounced. And that's really the only way to do these visits because you see things for how they are. And it's in the law. I can show up at a time and place of my choosing, and I will do that.
Join us after that, please. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And the cruel is not the accident. The cruel is the point. Thank you, Congressman. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Back with Ron McGill after this.